When morning came, all the chief priests and the elders of the people took counsel against Jesus to put him to death. And they bound him and led him away to be delivered to Pilate the governor. When Judas his betrayer saw that he was condemned, he repented and brought back the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and the elders, saying, "I have sinned betraying innocent blood." They said, "What is that to us? See to it yourself." And throwing down the pieces of silver in the temple, he departed, and he went and hanged himself. But the chief priests, taking the pieces of silver, said, "It is not lawful to put them in the treasury, since they are blood money." So they took counsel and brought them with them to Potter's Field to bury strangers in. Therefore that field had been called the Field of Blood to this day. Then was fulfilled what had been spoken by the prophet Jeremiah, saying, "And they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price of him whom a price had been set by some of those sons of Israel, and they gave them to the Potter's Field, as the Lord directed me." Now Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus said, "You have said it so." But when he was accused by the chief priests and the elders, he made no answer. Then Pilate said to him, "Do you not hear how many things they testify against you?" But he gave no answer, not even to a single charge, so that the governor wondered greatly. Now at the feast of the governor, it was a custom to release for the crowd any one prisoner whom they wanted. And they then had a notorious prisoner called Barabbas. So when they gathered, Pilate said to them, "Whom do you want to release for you, Barabbas or Jesus, who is called the Christ?" For he knew that it was out of envy that they had delivered him up. Besides, while he was sitting on the judgment seat, his wife sent word to him, "Have nothing to do with that righteous man, for I have suffered much over him today in my dream." Now the chief priests and the elders persuaded the people to ask for Barabbas and to destroy Jesus. The governor again said, "Which of the two do you want me to release for you?" And they said, "Barabbas." Pilate said to them, "Then what shall I do with the one who is called Christ?" They all said, "Let him be crucified." And he said, "Why? What evil has he done?" But they shouted all the more, "Let him be crucified." So when Pilate saw that he was gaining nothing, but rather than a riot was beginning, he took water and washed his hands before the crowd, saying, "I am innocent of this man's blood. See to it yourselves." And the people answered, "His blood be on us and on our children." Then he released for them Barabbas, having scourged Jesus, delivering him to be crucified. Then one of the soldiers of the governor took Jesus into the praetorium. They gathered the whole battalion before him, and they stripped him, and put a scarlet robe upon him, and plaiting a crown of thorns, they put it on his head, and put a reed in his right hand. And kneeling before him, they mocked him, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they spat upon him, and took the reed and struck him on the head. And when they had mocked him, they stripped him of the robe and put his clothes on him and led him away to crucify him. As they went out, they came upon a man of Cyrene, Simon by name. This man they compelled to carry his cross. And when they came to the place called Golgotha, which means place of the skull, they offered him wine to drink, mingled with gall, but when he tasted it, he would not drink it. And when they had crucified him, they divided his garments amongst them, casting lots. Then they sat down and kept watch over him there. And over his head they put the charge against him, which read, "This is Jesus, King of the Jews." Then 2 robbers were crucified with him, one on the right and one on the left. And those who passed by derided him, wagging their heads and saying, "You who would destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself! If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross." So also the chief priests, with the scribes and the elders, mocked him, saying, "He saved others. He cannot save himself. He is the King of Israel. Let him come down from that cross, and we will believe him. He trusts in God. Let God deliver him now, if he desires it. For he said, 'I am the Son of God.'" And the robbers who were crucified with him also revealed him in the same way. Now from the 6th hour there was darkness all over the land until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour Jesus cried out with a loud voice, "Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani." That is, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And some of the bystanders, hearing this, said, "This man is calling Elijah." And one of them at once ran and took a sponge, filled it with vinegar, and put it on a reed to give him a drink. But the others said, "Wait, let's see whether Elijah will save him." And Jesus cried out again with a loud voice and yielded up his spirit. And behold, the curtain of the temple was torn in 2 from top to bottom, and the earth shook, and the rocks were split, the tombs were opened, and many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep were raised, and coming out of the tombs after his resurrection, they went into the holy city and appeared to many. When the centurion and those who were there with him, keeping watch over Jesus, saw the earthquake and what took place, they were filled with awe and said, "Truly, this was the Son of God." There were also many women there, looking on from afar, who had followed Jesus from Galilee, ministering to him, among whom were Mary Magdalene, and Mary the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of the sons of Zebedee. When it was evening, there came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph, who was a disciple of Jesus. He went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Then Pilate ordered it to be given to him. And Joseph took the body and wrapped it in a clean linen shroud and laid it in his own new tomb, which he had hewn in the rock, and rolled a great stone to the door of the tomb and departed. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary were there, sitting opposite the sepulchre. Next day, that is, after the day of preparation, the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered before Pilate and said, "Sir, we remember how that impostor said while he was still alive, 'After 3 days I will rise again.' Therefore order the sepulchre to be made secure unto this 3rd day, lest his disciples go and steal him away and tell the people he has risen from the dead, and the last fraud will be the worse than the first." Pilate said to them, "You have a guard of soldiers. Go and make it as secure as you can." So they went and made the sepulchre secure by sealing the stone and setting a guard.